What's up, everybody? This is Jalen and Jacoby with his mouth. Yo, this every no man, this everyday genius.
Yo, that was good, man.
Like too much. Let's start off like this.
What
All
up,
right.
though?
Hey, I can actually do that though, since born and raised from Michigan. Come from the D, raised in Saginaw. What's up?
Yo, that's hilarious, man. And I know everybody, people that don't watch ESPN or don't know what Jalen Jacoby is, like that will go over your heads, but that was beautiful.
I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate that, bro. I just need some shades and a darker hairline. I promise you it's around. It's another episode of Everyday Genius. I am the Black and Miss Kristen Robinson, here with my man who funds everything. He's like the overarching progenitor of all things podcast related with OTS, and he takes really dope photos. His name is Derrick, by the way. So everybody go ahead.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Yeah, buddy. So today, yeah, man, today's episode is long overdue.
Yeah,
and supposed to be talking about mental health.
Yeah,
and it's long overdue for a few reasons. I can say respectfully, openly, we both have had mental health challenges in the last year, in the last few months, which made this episode hard to record.
Yeah, off and on.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And this is actually going to be part of like a multi episode series, more or less, because mental health has kind of become like a hot button issue in recent months and really within like the last year or two. But the big thing is like it's actually been something, of course, that's been prevalent. When mental health issues arise, it's been very prevalent for decades, if not centuries. And the more we understand about science, the more we're able to treat it. But science doesn't necessarily change what happens, societally. So
right,
people don't necessarily know remedies, for mitigating depression or anxiety. What if you have like bipolarism? People who are schizophrenic, people who are manic, like how do you deal with that, naturally and chemically?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, let's we can talk about it. For me, I was unaware for years that I like battled depression.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh man, it's just like a really weird day today. I just felt real lethargic. I didn't feel like doing anything. I had no motivation. And you always hear those old adages like early bird gets the worm. All right, cool. So let me just wake up early. I'm not grinding hard enough. I'm not doing enough. And it was like, I kid you not, there was nothing in the world that was motivating me. I like, man, you could put $1 million in my face. And I was just like, man, I just feel like going to sleep. And I just try to shake it off and I keep moving. And I really never like tried to tackle the issue. Because I didn't know what issue to tackle. And things like that, like they play off and on, right? For anybody that's battled, for instance, in this particular focus, like depression, it comes in waves. But I think when people hear the term "it comes in waves," they automatically attribute a wave to like, oh, okay, so it comes and it goes like once a month or like every other day, and it's like, nah, like just like the waves in the ocean, they're not the same wave and they're not at the same time. Like sometimes it's really small, sometimes it's a really big swell. You have no idea when it's happening. It just happens. And when it does, it really has to be taken seriously.
Yeah. And I like you talking about like not knowing that you had depression. Like, do you think that's part of the way, like, just in our community, like in the Black community, like I don't even to be completely honest, I don't even think we're still at that point where we fully embrace the idea of dealing with anxiety or depression.
Bro, no, definitely not.
Like
Definitely not.
I look, I've had anxiety since fourth grade and didn't know it.
Okay.
I've dealt with depression now. I would say going about 8 9 years
Okay.
off and on. You know, but actually maybe more than that because I growing up in a church, the whole thing
Yeah.
of like, well, don't speak that
Yeah.
into existence,
Yeah.
don't say that you don't have this, you don't have that. And I was told that multiple times. I actually grew up in a place where the pastor made it seem like depression was a sin.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I I I I would feel like I was getting depressed, but I'm like, nah, I can't. That's like
Yes.
that's of the devil, right? Like
Yeah, bro.
it's so you
Got
feel
me
the
hyped.
shame. You feel
Yeah.
the shame of being depressed or having anxiety. And and it's the weirdest thing. I like I hope because it seems like we're getting to a point in our culture, well not in our culture, but in our community where um it seems to be something that people are talking about more, but
Yeah, for sure.
it's almost like at the same time people are still denying it.
Yeah. Man, you spoke on something that's really deep. And so for a lot of listeners who did not have the quote unquote typical black experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I say typical, this is not to be offensive, it's to talk about things that are like cornerstones of our culture, because
Mm-hmm.
church is a cornerstone of African American culture, point
Mm-hmm.
blank period. Whether
Yep.
you believe in something different now, you operationalize it differently, it is still a historical, societal, and cultural cornerstone.
Mm-hmm.
And those were the things that I dealt with too, even to the point where like I believe that, and I would tell people the same thing. I'm like,
Yep.
nah, man, don't claim that, or you
Yeah.
speaking this over your life, and nah, that's not good, and you just need to and grab it by the horns,
Yeah.
um, and
Snap out
it's
of it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and I like wish I like didn't say that. Now at the time I was doing what I believe like was solid.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
what I also learned, especially having gone through like a major depression,
Mm-hmm.
was like, yo, this really ain't it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really one of those things where I love the South, man. The South come with the best euphemisms. They
Yeah.
used to tell us like, man, for those of y'all who think butter ain't soft, or for those of you think like fat meat ain't greasy, and it's like you gonna
Yeah.
learn. Like, okay, you think this ain't what it is? Like you gonna find out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I found out, you know, it really clicked like how damaging those words could be to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And the saddest part was like, I wish I did not have to go through major depression to
Mm-hmm.
really understand, like, yo, this ain't no, man, this is the devil. And this is like, bro,
Mm-hmm.
no, there are certain things you just can do to help yourself. And like whether it be like medication or just like getting out and about or like certain things that can stimulate you. And if you don't have those, like you suffer. And there are other times where it's like it doesn't matter what you do, you know like I ain't gonna say it doesn't matter what you do, but like there are a lot of things that you can try,
Mm-hmm.
but like, man, it's just a really tough battle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
I don't care if you're Muhammad Ali, you Mike Tyson, like you still gonna get hit. Like even Floyd Mayweather, like he never walked away like unscathed. Like, yeah, you might win the match, you might make it look pretty.
Mm-hmm.
You're still getting hit.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, and telling people that like have depression, like to just suck it up or to deal with it or to not claim with it. And things again, like I know now, which I didn't know then. And I'll definitely advocate for it differently now that I have a far better understanding of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's unrealistic to tell them to do those things. It's very unrealistic.
Yeah. Yeah. So All right, help me understand it from a chemical perspective.
Um, I think from a chemical perspective, man, we really need to go back to one of the most scientifically accurate movies of all time, Waterboy, and those little happy rays of sunshine. Well, man, I was really stringing you along with that one.
You really works. I was sitting. I was like, which one is that?
My double oblongata. My mama said no,
God, I love that movie, man.
Yo, no, you're wrong, Colonel Sanders. No, but for real, man, like there are four main chemicals, five depending on who you ask, and it's all legit, right? That exist, that pretty much control like your day-to-day mood. And depending on like the level of those chemicals like within your brain, like imagine like you have a health meter like in a fighting game.
Yeah.
Or I really shouldn't even say it like that, man. More, let's look at it more like a gas gauge in a car,
Okay.
right? And depending on how high like the gauge is in your car, it lets you know how far you can go,
Right.
right? It lets you know exactly what you can do. Like you're not gonna mash the gas and your gas light is on. Like you're gonna run out of everything.
Yeah. You start cruising.
Exactly, and that's kind of how it is. Like when you like battling depression, right?
Yeah.
And it's one of those like depending on how high like these chemical levels are, it's going to determine like, yo, do I need to be in like cruise mode? Like, am I forced into cruise mode because I really can't, mash the gas? I can't give like a lot of energy, or do I have like high levels? Like we could talk about like Kanye West, right?
Yeah.
Like one thing about like Kanye is like he battles mania.
Mm-hmm.
And mania is like when you just feel unstoppable, like not on some like confident stuff. Like there is literally like an imbalance where like you are the type as a human being that might run in the street and feel like I can stop the bus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And people who are going through mania, like they don't know they're going through mania. But like that's an imbalance of like one of these chemicals like being through the roof or like one being way higher than the other. But
Right.
to the question, man, it's serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine, you got your endorphins,
Mm-hmm.
right? And these levels like will determine whether you're happy, whether you're sad, whether you're like depressed, whether you're manic, whether you're like in insatiable love, whether you're like angry, like what are you feeling during like an adrenaline rush? Like are you, you know, sleepless? You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? Like all of these like play heavy into that.
Yeah. Yeah. So when dealing with depression, then,
Yeah.
because like there's been times where, like, especially this last time, um I think I tried to fight this thing off for like a solid week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. Like I would
Yeah.
feel it and I'm just like, yo, like snap out of it, snap out of it. It is what it is. Just, keep pushing. And
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't. Like I tried my best to
Yeah.
to avoid the basically the inevitable, because it was just it just, like you said, like basically like waves. You can't stand out in the ocean and stop the wave, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that was what I was trying to do, trying to hold it off, and that thing crashed. I mean, that one hit. That was probably one of the hardest ones that I've had. So what's something that, like, is this like a dietary thing, or is this something that like can be treated with different taking different supplements? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, medication ain't gonna be. I'm not taking
That's
medication
real.
anymore. I was on medication when I was 12. I,
Yeah.
I didn't get off that thing until 28, 27, 28 for a seizure.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
like
I can't. I'm trying to avoid going that direction again.
So dietary changes definitely like help and influence.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not to say that it's like if I eat McDonald's, then it's going to make me depressed and I'm going to like want to go on a murdering spree. But if
Mm-hmm.
I eat bananas and kiwis, then like my life is filled with joy. Like, no, you can eat kiwis and bananas and feel suicidal
Mm-hmm.
and eat McDonald's and like feel bliss.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's, it
yeah,
doesn't work like that.
yeah.
But
Which a burger will always make you
bro,
happy.
slick. Bro, if they combine a taco and a burger together, that would be like actually. Well, that's a whole. We can make a
That's a whole different
podcast on
thing.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm thinking, I'm like, yo, that would be busting though. Ooh. Okay, but like, like the nutrients, the vitamins, the minerals,
Mm-hmm.
they all play in such a complex way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are some things that are like legitimately very simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, um, we need vitamin D,
Right.
right? Vitamin D can help with like your bone health.
Mm-hmm.
It is chemically synthesized like with sunshine. Like, no, you don't get vitamin D directly from the sun, but
Mm-hmm.
there are chemicals within your body that, when struck by the UV light provided by the sun rays, undergo a chemical reaction. I'm speeding past that because it
Mm-hmm.
kind of gave me flashbacks of one of my favorite courses from grad school called physical organic chemistry,
Mm-hmm.
and it basically deals with the kinetics of carbon-based molecules and all of the weird stuff that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say weird stuff, like, it's certain things that normally ain't supposed to happen, but because the sun provides so much energy, it can cause certain reactions to take place that under normal conditions wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also important to know because, again, I said under normal conditions, they wouldn't. Hence, there's only one sunshine.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to get that sunlight so it can cause these chemical reactions to happen internally, which actually are beneficial for us.
Right.
Um, like, for one thing, man, you definitely increase serotonin levels.
Mm-hmm.
And serotonin is like one of the like most important chemicals for like happiness. Like when your serotonin levels are high,
Mm-hmm.
happy. Or like serotonin is high with like dopamine and like oxytocin,
Mm-hmm.
like you in love. Like oxytocin is also associated with like love and intimacy and so forth.
Okay.
But like when you're like serotonin level is like low,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you're like depression. Serotonin and dopamine are like really low, right? So like um you know, another thing that can cause these chemicals to like increase in your body, because it's not like you just take a bite out of an apple and you get serotonin, right?
Right.
But um when you feel better,
Mm-hmm.
you can move better, you can think better,
Right.
you can honestly just be better. And that's why it is important to make sure that you feed your body like the right stuff, because you don't want to feel weighed down,
Right. Right.
right? Like, yeah, I still eat McDonald's. Like,
Mm-hmm.
shame in that. Like, that's like one of my guilty pleasures.
Mm-hmm.
I also work out like 5 or 6 days a week.
Right.
I hit the sauna for like 20 to 30 minutes at a time every day I'm in there. And the
Mm-hmm.
sauna's usually like 190 degrees. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm drinking like a gallon and a half of water a day.
Mm-hmm.
And my caloric intake is like less than like my limit. So if I eat like a burger from McDonald's, I lose it. I still
Yeah.
feel good. But
Yeah.
like if you're eating McDonald's and you aren't like walking, you aren't getting out and about, you aren't getting fresh air, you're sitting in the house, it's stuffy all day. You ain't changed the filters on your air conditioner. You
Mm-hmm.
haven't changed the filters for your house ventilation. Hello, people, because I know a lot of people actually skip that.
Mm-hmm.
Then yeah, you're recycling like dust and dirt and debris. You're not getting like the freshest air. Like, there's a reason why people walk outside and it's like and it feels refreshing to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why does it feel so refreshing as opposed to what you're breathing inside your own home?
Right.
Right. It's like the same as getting a new pair of clothes or a new pair of shoes or whatever. Putting on that
Mm-hmm.
outfit, you feel good.
Yeah.
That ain't nothing that you ate.
Yeah.
Right. But you can get the freshest outfit in the world and ate completely sloppy, and people like, man, I feel bloated, or I don't like how I look in this. And it's like, yeah, it might sound really simple and it's not the most like complex scientific thing in the world, but like
Mhm.
even dietary on that tip like influences your mood,
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
can't tell somebody who's been eating good and feeling good about themselves that they're going to like stop feeling good when they put on something that was supposed to make them feel better.
Right.
No,
Right.
you're going to feel better.
Yeah. 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 No, that makes sense. Because I know, like, and I think I just picked up on this
Yeah.
within the last month and a half, 2 months ago. Um, that my anxiety and depression is usually linked to overthinking.
I feel that, boy. I feel that one.
So, like, what is there something like? Is there something connected in terms like chemically to overthinking, or is
Yeah.
that just like what
So
is that?
typically when you have anxiety, you have like really low dopamine levels.
Mm-hmm,
And so, dopamine is associated with like feeling really good, right?
mm-hmm,
So, what is one of my fun notes here? Like dopamine is known as the feel good hormone. And
mm-hmm,
as I've noted, like it's specifically responsible for feelings of pleasure, happiness, and goodness. High dopamine levels are linked to like motor system function, your learning, your memory, and high brain health, right? And so, one of the like really important things to know is like dopamine can also like be tied to addiction. Like you got to be careful about that, right?
mm-hmm.
Because like if you're tied to the wrong thing and like it kind of influences you, like you could get stuck on that. Which is so quick side note, but a very important side note.
Mm-hmm.
Dopamine is actually one of the biggest reasons why people are addicted to drugs like crack, like meth, and so forth,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you increase like these dopamine levels like crazy, but you can never reach that peak again. You'll never reach that peak again because it drains you, right? It's like a siphoning,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like in order to siphon, you have to put pressure in, is back pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And then that causes everything to force out and just drain.
Mm-hmm.
That's what like these drugs do to you. So like they kind of give you this boost of like pseudo dopamine almost. It's actually real dopamine, but like just to put it in perspective, that goes beyond your normal levels, but
Mm-hmm.
then like it drains you. And so
Oh,
that's why they say people are like constantly chasing the high,
mm-hmm.
because everything that you're doing from like here on is in order for you to chase what you initially felt,
Right.
and you'll never be able to get that again. And so you're basically like causing your dopamine levels to like constantly like fluctuate but like decrease, because the actual dopamine levels increase only off the thought of getting the hit, but the continual use of the drug like actually blocks you from creating enough dopamine to ever be at a normal level again. So that's why people
Oh
are
wow.
like constantly addicted, because they literally can't reach the same levels,
Yeah.
and their body is stuck trying to reach something that it can't. And so they have to wean you off with lighter versions of the drug, like methadone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you like got addicted to methamphetamine. And methadone allows you to slowly like build your dopamine levels back up, while like allowing your body to like in its neurotransmitters to like start transmitting at normal levels again, and like not be blocked and like kind of like free of congestion. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's really crazy how that stuff works.
That's interesting.
um but I know that was lengthy, but hopefully that like was informative to somebody.
Yeah.
To like your question in terms of like what can you do to like limit anxiety, you ever notice like when you're feeling really good you don't overthink, you just do? Or maybe that's just me.
Yeah. Maybe I guess so. I never thought about it like that. Yeah.
I mean, it's like you might be feeling good, but like when you're really concerned about like messing up, or you're feeling like the nervousness, you're like, oh well, let me calculate. But when
Mm-hmm.
you're not concerned with any of that stuff, for the case, with me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not thinking about that.
Yeah.
I'm just like I'm out there. Like what people call like you in a flow, you in your
Yeah.
vein.
Yeah.
Like or other people might say like you know you're in your rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dopamine levels are high. Like you're just locked in. Um, you know, you want to do things that cause you happiness. You want to do things that give you structure. You want to do things that like allow you to have pleasure in the moment, respectfully speaking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if I'm at work, no, work is not going to be the same as if I'm at a basketball game.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But if I got everything organized, right,
Mm-hmm.
understanding the task at hand, it makes me not feel overwhelmed. Like, oh my God, I missed this deadline. I forgot to respond to this message. Let me catch up to this
Mm-hmm.
email. Oh my goodness, what if I say the wrong thing? And it's like, nah, if you keep all your ducks in a row,
Yeah.
that ain't no issue.
That's
You know
interesting.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So like structure is like one of the biggest helpmates you can have to
Mm.
reducing the anxiety, keeping dopamine levels at like, you know, a decent amount. Um Shoot, I need music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I kid you not, there's not been a lab I worked at, whether I was at NASA, whether I was
Mm.
like Department of Energy, private, academia, even now in corporate. I have music.
Mm.
Um, it keeps me focused and keeps my dopamine levels high.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's just one headphone in my ear and I can still, you know, be present to the outside world for them. If I'm in the
Mm-hmm.
office, I got a speaker, but these are things that like increase my level of productivity.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't have music, I tend to be kind of down. It
Yeah.
is a struggle.
Yeah.
They're real.
That makes sense. That makes sense because I know, like, I think this is again something I think I picked up on maybe about a couple years ago. Um, but I would have anxiety. I've had anxiety again since I was a kid, right? But like flying
Mm.
was something that was always a struggle for me.
Okay.
Um, so a couple years ago, I actually started when I would fly with headphones and I would listen to J. Cole. And I realized that that's like just listening to his music just like helped me remain calm.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so it's either J. Cole or Bob Marley that get me right into that zone of just being able to just
Nice.
relax.
Okay.
And yeah, but I mean, I think I just picked up on that maybe a couple of years ago. Like that's what was just like keeping me right there grounded. But there are moments where just like overthinking just takes charge.
Mm.
And that doesn't like I don't even when I'm overthinking, I don't think about playing music.
That's
I'm
real.
I'm thinking about like what I'm like focused on. I'm focused on the thing that is getting me worked up, and then that's all I can focus on. And I'm focusing on that, and then it branches off into like the what ifs. And so now I got all these thoughts just basically
Yeah. I
bouncing
feel
off in
that.
my head, and like I think within the last I would say last 3 months, I started actually journaling,
Okay.
and it's actually helped me like sit, like hone everything that I'm feeling into what I write. Because
Yeah.
I used to journal like when I was a kid, but then I thought I'm like what am I saying? I was overthinking just like how that because I you could probably consider me well, you can't consider me a perfectionist. So I'm like sitting there trying to figure out like who like
I feel
does
that.
this make any sense? Does like I'm feeling as if someone reads this,
Yeah.
what are they going to think about what I'm writing? So that I'm like holding back on
Mm.
writing anything because I don't
Yeah.
want to come across like weird or you know what I'm saying? Like it's just it's all of it is just overthinking. So like what is something that can help outside of journaling, just like, is there like what leads to that from a chemical perspective?
Like overthinking.
Yeah.
Oh, I think overthinking is a form of anxiety.
Okay.
This is not a mental health professional
Yeah.
opinion,
Yeah. Yeah.
but just from what I've, researched, I think that there could be links between overthinking and anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking to a overthinker.
Mm-hmm.
It
Okay.
is something
Okay.
I've been working on my entire life. Overthinking is simultaneously why I can be really dope at science and I can really suck with science.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because sometimes we need things to be done immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be a little difficult to get it done because I too am like, yo, this is not perfect. I want to
Mm-hmm.
say the right thing at the right time, do the right thing. I want to make it pop. We got to
Mm-hmm.
hit all the nuances.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, whoa, 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 Chris, like all of this.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is like, bro, just keep it simple.
Yeah.
Cut the flame on,
Yeah.
plug in the machine, get
Yeah.
started. Like,
Yeah.
did you even weigh this out?
Yeah.
Like, you're thinking of 50 million things,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like step number 8. Do
Yeah. Yeah.
steps
Yeah.
1 through 7.
Yeah.
And I had to like put things in place to tell myself, like, okay, Chris, keep it simple. Like, I put sticky notes up, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, cool. These are the things that I have to do in the immediate sense, and I will like make sure I can check the steps off.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me look like so dopamine levels being like increased are associated with like your reward system,
Okay.
which is why I said like drug addicts struggle because they like, oh, I'm gonna get a reward, dopamine levels shoot up.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So one reward for people who tend to overthink is like actually completing something. So
Yes.
that's why I break my tasks down into a bunch of little steps. And I
Okay.
celebrate every one of those small steps.
So
Cause
like small goals.
exactly. Because after a
Okay.
certain point, it's not up. Like I could care less whether you like it or not. Like I would like for somebody else to be like, hey, you did it, Chris. I'm happy for you.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, it's like I got to do this for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm looking for the big bang and trying to make everything like super perfect, then
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to miss the forest for the trees. Let me start celebrating. Hey, you did step 1. Cool, you did step 2. But if
Mm-hmm.
you did step 2, boom, you can move on to step 3.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps me move the ball forward. Um, and sometimes it's a matter of just doing as much as
Mm-hmm.
it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, bro, just do it. If it's ugly, fix it. If it's great, capitalize on it.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you really only have 2 choices. Another one of my favorite Southern euphemisms. And I've used this ever since my old heads told it to me.
Mm-hmm.
What you gonna do? Barbecue or mildew? Like you gonna get to it, or you just gonna let it sit there and like spoil? It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
to make a move, man.
Yeah.
And while it seems like really harsh and straightforward, I'm so glad people can't hear how I talk to myself in my head. Boy,
Yeah. Yeah.
I probably would cancel myself. But ooh, I ain't lying. But no, man, it's just simple. It's like, you got to make a move. And when you make a
Yeah.
move, that's when you start getting into the progress of like actually accomplishing something. When you
Mm-hmm.
accomplish something, you can get the reward. But if
Mm-hmm.
you never make the move, you
Mm-hmm.
can never accomplish. And if you never accomplish, you can't get the reward. And your dopamine levels are just going to keep dropping. You feel me? Like you
Yeah.
have to get started. And it's one of the simpler things. There's supplements that I take that like help me with that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I regularly take caffeine
Mm-hmm.
because caffeine like helps like it helps enhance your dopamine signaling. So like
Oh,
if you
really?
taking
Okay.
so like you ever notice like you feeling good, but then you take some caffeine, you're like, y'all feeling real good. Like, yeah, it
I've never
basically like
noticed that.
okay, yeah, man. It makes things like more sensitive to dopamine. Like your dopamine like goes longer and stronger. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So like I've had workouts where it's like, cool, I'm locked in, I'm focused, I'm listening to my music.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's like, man, I don't even need the caffeine. but it's
Mm-hmm.
like that extra like bit of caffeine is like, yo, I feel like I can go a little bit like longer, harder. Like this workout is like dope. Man, I ain't even plan on doing this exercise, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling good. I'm not quote unquote feeling energized. I'm feeling good.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm more
yeah.
responsive to the dopamine that's present.
Okay. Okay.
I regularly take protein.
Mm-hmm.
Regularly take protein. Like, a lot of the amino acids that make up protein have like really similar structures to the you know, uh to dopamine. I'm about to say to the chemicals, but I'm like, it's one chemical.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, like dopamine like has a similar structure to like a lot of amino acids. For a
Right.
lot of people who don't know, the amine portion, right? That's a specific like chemical group that's nitrogen and hydrogen containing.
Mm-hmm.
And so like an amine is typically gonna be like a NH2, a nitrogen with two hydrogens attached,
Okay.
and it has some lone electrons. So if you don't know that, basically know that nitrogen can bond with three things. Two of the
Okay.
bonds are taken up by hydrogen, and one of the bonds is typically gonna bond to like another chemical.
Okay.
And that's what is like the amine portion. And so dopamine, dope is not a chemical, right?
Mm.
But the dope portion is like this whole extra section attached to the amine. And
Mm.
when you talk about amino acids, it's an amine group attached to an acid, and that's your protein. Like not
Okay.
all acids are harmful.
Okay.
It's just the class of chemicals
Mm-hmm.
that denotes something that typically can like donate electrons.
That's interesting.
Yeah, man. Like chemistry is really specific and is its own language. Like
Yeah.
there are plenty of harmful acids, but
Mm-hmm.
there are plenty of like super, super, super beneficial acids,
Mm-hmm.
like alpha lipoic acids, like fat and
Mm-hmm.
stuff you eat that like help your brain,
Mm-hmm.
help your joints, that you find in like fish. Some acids can be really dangerous,
Mm-hmm.
at high concentrations, like acetic acid.
Right.
Like pure acetic acid to eat through your bones. But
Okay.
if you take acetic acid and dilute it, like, you know, a whole bunch and make it like a 4% solution,
Mm-hmm.
you got vinegar.
Oh.
So people
Okay.
love salt and
Okay.
vinegar. It's like, yeah, you're eating salt and death. But it's diluted to the point where it's not deadly at all. It's just tasty to some people.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, man. Like citric acid. It's
Mm-hmm.
the stuff that makes like your oranges and your lime and your lemon. It gives it that tart, that zest. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like a lot of fats are acids.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. A lot of fats are acids, man. A lot of oil. Shoot, ethanol. The stuff in our hand sanitizer, the same stuff people drink like to get drunk, the same stuff we
Mm.
put in our gas tanks. That's a really weak acid.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
wow. See, I'm still kind of stuck on the caffeine thing
Oh
because
yeah.
like the so I've always, and this is how it's always been presented, that caffeine gives you energy.
That's true.
So it does.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So okay.
So
I'm
like
still trying
everything
to
is
think of ways.
interrelated, right?
Okay.
So, you can, let's say like you got some really exciting news,
Hmm.
right? Like you can be completely tired as all get out. Man, I've been up 24 hours and somebody gives you some like exciting news and wakes you up out of your sleep. And you're like, yo, what? Like, let's say somebody told you just won $1 million.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Like,
So dopamine then is attached to your energy levels.
yeah, because it's like
Okay.
it gives you pleasure, it gives you happiness, right? It gives you
Yeah.
a reward. And typically when you feel that, like you ever notice like people like, oh, you got a second win. Like, what
Mm.
did you do to get a second win naturally? You're enjoying yourself.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay.
It, you've done things where, you've seen parents talk about kids, right? And it's like, oh, you fell asleep in class, but you can play that video game all day. Yeah, because like I enjoy the game and I don't enjoy class.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So I can
Okay.
stay up till like 4 in the morning playing a video game, and it's like a lot of fun. And I can barely stay up for 20 minutes in class because it is just
Yeah.
absolutely boring.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Okay.
imagine like you enjoying yourself staying up to 4 in the morning, but then you also have like caffeine.
Mm.
Like caffeine is more than just energy, like because it also makes you more sensitive to the dopamine that's present from you getting rewarded from like enjoying yourself. It's like it's more potent
So
and it
why is it
makes
that
things more enjoyable.
I can drink coffee and go right to sleep then? Because I know a lot of people drink coffee to stay awake. Like I can drink it
I
11, 12
mean,
o'clock
are you
at
drinking
night.
coffee for pleasure or are you drinking coffee for energy?
I just drink
Because
it for pleasure. Because it does it. I don't ever feel any effects like I'm like you know how people drink coffee and then like they're wired.
yeah,
I
no,
don't I don't ever get like that.
and you got to think about it too. Like there is a such thing as like being desensitized or like
Mm-hmm.
decreasing your sensitivity, right? Like when I first injured my knees playing football,
Mm-hmm.
coming back off like an ACL injury, I needed to like get my knee string back, my leg string back.
Yep.
Coming into high school, and man, I was leg pressing maybe like a couple of hundred, and it was rough. It
Mm-hmm.
was rough on me. But then, like, I did a couple of hundred so much that it got light. So now I'm doing 300,
Mm-hmm.
400,
Mm-hmm.
500, 600, 700. Next thing you know, I'm leg pressing 1,000 like 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, how can I do that? Because I got so used to the lighter weights, right? Like what
Mm-hmm.
used to be difficult for me is no longer difficult. So it's like, somebody's like, man, 200 is like a lot of weight. And it's like, well, why is it easy for me to lift? Because you lifted it a lot.
Okay.
It doesn't change the fact that like your muscles are still working. You just have like a decreased sensitivity to like the amount of work it's putting on you.
So you're saying the more you drink coffee, the less sensitized you are to it. Okay.
Yes,
Because I I
sir.
I,
100%.
but I legit just started drinking coffee like that, where I'm
I'm
every other day or something like that.
Yeah, but see, like, and everybody's sensitivity is different, right?
Mm,
So I think with caffeine, it typically like takes about 2 weeks till you start noticing your body like decreases level of sensitivity to it. But there are like so many factors that go into play. Because
mm,
I have friends who are like, man, I drink a Red Bull and I'm wired up. I had a friend who like basically had like heart murmurs from like
yeah.
drinking, too much caffeine. And meanwhile, I can take 2 scoops of caffeine and I mean not 2 scoops of pre-workout in a day at like 320, milligrams a piece.
Mm.
And I just be chilling.
Yeah.
I'm not even jittery. I'm just like, oh word. I
Yeah, I can't drink those things anymore, man. I had a monster energy drink once,
yeah.
and it like I was so I don't even know. It was like I guess jittery.
Yeah.
I it didn't give me any energy, but I felt so weird. I was like, I can't drink that again, man. I that will never happen.
Okay.
Red Bulls, Monsters, none of that stuff is good for me.
Like yeah, Red Bull is like I don't think Red Bull is like 100 milligrams of caffeine. I think Monster is like between like 150 and 200.
Uh,
Um, and the stuff I take is like 320 to 350, and it has like ingredients to increase your blood flow.
okay.
Because the faster your blood is flowing, then all the stuff that's dissolved in your bloodstream can be
Mm-hmm.
delivered to the proper sites faster and
Mm-hmm.
more efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I'm taking stuff that's like not only are we going to like pump you full of like things that'll make goodness,
Mm-hmm.
but we're also going to increase the efficiency in which you absorb that goodness.
Okay.
and I do be big chilling.
Yeah.
It don't bother me because I
Okay.
have like crazy like tolerance to it. Like I'm really desensitized.
Mm.
Like at one point when I used to like take my pre-workout, I'm like, oh my god, my face is itchy. Ah, what is this? I'm about to explode.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, man, I don't need to take 2 scoops, but I slick want to take another. Hmm,
Jeez.
got a conundrum here. Like
Yeah.
that's where I'm at now.
Okay. So
By the way, kids, don't take a whole lot of caffeine and try to limit your caffeine intake. Don't become like me.
yeah.
I blame me drinking too much Surge growing up because I'm not gonna hold you. I could take like 800 milligrams in a day, and I'm okay.
Jesus.
Maybe I'm not. I don't
Yeah.
know, but I feel okay. And if I feel good, well, dang it. If you ask me, I'm good.
Yeah.
And that is not scientific, but I'm saying that anyway.
So I guess getting back to the depression anxiety aspect then. Um
Yeah.
what so you the dopamine you talked about how we can increase the dopamine levels. What about the serotonin and what were the other things you listed?
Yeah. Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. You got your endorphins, and you got
Mm.
epinephrine.
So what can be done to elevate those or keep those balanced? Like what how do you actually just keep everything balanced? Because I don't want to like personally for
Yeah.
me it's one of those things where it's hard to like remember to like do everything to make sure this that and the other is done. I would rather I wish there was something that I could just take that made everything that kept everything level
Yeah.
to where I don't have to constantly think about taking XYZ multiple times a day or different times of the day.
Okay.
Is there
Well,
something that you can take that helps balance everything? That's not medication.
no, that's real. Well, for starters,